wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Welcome to Dragonmount. I'm Kathy Campbell.
I'm Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr. We're going to be talking about episode 2. It's called Strangers and Friends. This episode is directed by Thomas Naper, and it's written for television by Catherine B. McKenna.
All right. Whew, this episode just dives right in. I'm so glad that we know that the first 3 episodes are all dropping at once because as we've mentioned before, we have watched all 4 of these first episodes. But the first 3 have such a beautiful bookend. You can tell that they knew that these 3 were going to be dropped at the same time, like when it was written.
Yes.
Because of how the story goes, which I love that they felt like it planned it. Whether or not they actually did plan it, we don't actually know. Maybe we'll ask Rafe at some point. But it's kind of amazing how beautifully done these first 3 episodes are, and I'm so excited for everyone to experience them. Which, if you're listening to this, we were able to publish this the morning of the episode launching, so about 12 hours or so if you listen to this right away. So you may listen to the podcast before seeing the show, which is strange. But, that's fine. It's all good. We love you that you're here regardless of when you're listening to it.
We're going to spoil the show, though, absolutely.
Yes, we are absolutely going to spoil the show. However, don't worry. We will not spoil book stuff without a spoiler horn warning. So you will be able to skip that chapter at the end of this episode if you don't want to hear conversations about the books. Every so often we do talk a little bit about books, but we try not to spoil. It's more of a conversation about some smaller things that are maybe a little bit different because we just can't help ourselves. But we are we ready? Let's get started.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, shall we start in Tar Valon in the White Tower?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Lots of things happening in this setting, so I think most of the
lots.
episode actually goes on here.
Yes, definitely. And it is full. We're going to split the White Tower into 3 different sections. And let's get started with our favorite / least favorite Red, Leandrin. It's so difficult because I hate her, and yet I love her portrayal so much. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So gorgeous. But she's digging in hard on Nynaeve. And Nynaeve is not liking it a whole lot.
Well, what really impresses me is just how well she has Nynaeve figured out.
Yes.
Where does Leandrin take Nynaeve? She takes her to go see some healing. So Nynaeve was saying,
Yes.
I don't need the power. I'm not going to learn it. You guys can all go to hell. And she says, well, let me show you. Over in your village, breakbone fever, that's something that people will die of. Not here in the tower. Let me show you what this accepted knows how to do.
Yeah, and the fact that it's an accepted doing the healing.
Yes,
because
right.
Leandrin wants Nynaeve to test for accepted. Leandrin is going to push that along. And so here's an accepted that is healing a child with breakbone fever in 30 seconds. I think she used water and spirit. Is that what we think the yellow is in the weave?
It would make sense that yellow would be
level
spirit.
that I haven't figured out. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think red is fire. Or is it earth? No.
green was
fire.
what you said last time.
Yeah. Green was fire. Or green was earth. Sorry. Red was fire. Blue is water. White is air. And so, yellow is spirit.
Yellow would be spirit. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Water and spirit to heal. And We also see that Leandrin takes some of the Crimson Thorn that was diluted to give to the child to help with the pain, which I wonder what she's going to do with that.
And it's noted that that's a deadly poison when it's undiluted.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But and even the way she grabs it is not like she's playing at subtle, but not wanting to be subtle. Because if she wanted to grab it without anybody seeing her, she could have.
Right.
So there's mystery there. Why is she pretending to be coy, but really, everybody look at me as I steal this poison.
Right. But also, she may not have been as like obvious with it as we expected, because if you see, the Accepted is paying attention to the little girl, and Nynaeve is obsessed with the little girl too. So I don't know if anybody actually saw, other than
Nynaeve had to have seen.
Really?
Yeah, we already said Leandra knows her so well.
Oh, yeah. No, but also in the future when she makes a comment about, you know, I saw you take it. Okay, yep, you're right.
Yeah, so this is just a show for Nynaeve. Like, I'm going to pretend to see this so your curiosity is piqued.
Yeah.
Who am I going to poison?
And Nynaeve tries to go talk to Leandrin after. We learn that Leandrin, even though she can't teach novices, she is allowed to teach Accepted, and tells Nynaeve that when she's offered an opportunity in the future to accept it, which
accept it, nudge, nudge,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And just one other thing that's curious about this is that. Leandrin does show Nynaeve the Yellow's quarters where they're healing, but then after that she takes it one step further. Like, yes, that Yellow healed one person, but the Red Aja heals, makes it so those little girls don't need to be healed.
Yeah.
So she's trying to convert Nynaeve into a Red, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Just with like these, like, yeah, you can heal one person, or do you want to heal hundreds and hundreds?
If you want to heal the root of the problem and like.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because she wants this super, super strong channeler for her Aja.
Of course. And the Red Aja consider themselves preventative. They stand against another breaking. They because that's what men who channel do. They break the world. She's saying, hey, you can do a lot of good. You can save the world as one of us. One of the interesting things too is that, and which plays off later in the episode, is Leandrin gives some exposition that Aes Sedai live a long time, and so we have Leandrin who looks like a younger woman, but who is actually quite old. They can live centuries.
Yeah.
And that becomes important later on.
Yes, it does. And later on, in fact, Nynaeve goes to knock on Leandrin's door, but someone comes out and asks if Nynaeve is there to help. And she's like, no, I'm here to see Leandrin Sedai. But she just left. But if you hurry, you can catch her. And Nynaeve tries to hurry, and then suddenly is in this like dead end. And yet, the secret passage was opened just enough to cause a little bit of wind, which I'm like, To be fair, what happens. Like, we know it's written into the script, but also like, okay.
So both of you are saying that Leandrin is leaving a trail. To North Harbor. That's interesting, because when Nynaeve does catch up with Leandrin and finds out what she's doing, I was utterly convinced that Leandrin did not want to be caught, that this secret is something that she did not want revealed, and she's shaken by it. You think it's all an act?
Oh, see, I think she did not want her to follow. I think it was an accident that the door was closed just because of how furious she will be. I don't think she meant to have Nynaeve follow. Yeah. It just is.
Let's close out that arc then. What Nynaeve finds is that Liandrin is tending to an old man who is sick and in pain, and she's using that crimson thorn diluted to try and ease his pain. And Nynaeve says, "Hey, look at how his hand is curling. The pain is in his heart. Crimson thorn isn't going to work. You've been leaving him in pain when you've been administering this." And Liandrin goes ballistic. She slaps Nynaeve across the face and screams at her. And then when Nynaeve leaves, we learn that this old man is her son, who she's caring for.
She's so emotional.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would hurt you. I didn't mean to leave you here in pain. I'm so sorry, my boy, my beautiful boy.
Yeah.
And he moves his hand over to try and comfort her. Oh my gosh. The deep spread of emotion is why I think she did not mean Nynaeve to follow her, because she doesn't want to share this secret.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we know Maureen knows who the man she's seen in North Harbor is, or at least we assume that she actually knew. But she loves her son so much that she's willing to do anything, and including slapping a novice, which, I mean, she killed one, or one died on her watch. Didn't actually kill it. We don't know the details. May or may not.
Slapped her to death.
Yeah. Or pushed her, against a wall, or drowned her, or whatever. We don't know what happened. We don't really know what happened. I'm
gonna
go ahead.
I want to be the voice of dissent and say that this is still just her ploy. I am 100% convinced that she is putting on an act, 100% for Nynaeve's benefit.
Wow.
Because we don't know that Nynaeve ran away. We don't know that she's not around the corner listening. I really think Liandrin is trying to lull Nynaeve into a false sense of security to get close to her. And I'm not even sure that this is her son.
Whoa.
What?
So you think the whole thing is a total ruse?
Oh, wow.
Okay, you're playing a deeper game than I did.
Okay.
Yeah, because
maybe if it is her son, I think that the circumstances will be a little bit more dubious than what we're thinking.
Well,
which we might be able to discuss in the book section.
So we know that from the show, we know that Aes Sedai do take lovers. It's not inconceivable that one could get pregnant and have a child. So why is this such a secret? Is it because Liandrin is in the Red Aja, or is it violating some huge taboo? That's what I don't get. And that's what maybe lends some credence to your theory, Maureen, is why is this such a big secret for Liandrin?
Unless it's because the child was born before she became Aes Sedai.
But she's Aes Sedai now. Does that matter?
Right, but you're supposed to, I wonder if it's because you're supposed to kind of give up your family. And she didn't, and brought her son with her. I don't know. Yeah. We can discuss things a little bit more in the book section. Yeah,
the show hasn't shown any big taboos around family. It's just that, Aes Sedai, because they outlive all of their family, they don't really want to keep that connection. It's too painful. And maybe
it's more the Aes Sedai's choice, not necessarily the tower.
Well, although I would argue that it is the tower is meant to, the tower and your Aja is the only, like binds, like your bonds are with the tower. Tower comes first. Tower is the only thing, and so family is not important or allowed, which I think is something possibly to think about, but we don't know. We're just having this conversation, casual, discussing. Who knows?
Well, I mean, then if Leandrin has bonds to the Red Aja, I mean, just having sex with a man might be a criminal charge.
Oh yeah, possibly. We don't know. Unless again, she had the kid before. Yeah, it just depends on how old she is. Yeah. Yep.
So we're dissecting why it's a secret and why it's a taboo, but from her reaction, it obviously is in some way, and the way she's keeping it a secret. And this connects back to the previous episode where Ingtar was saying, "Hey, even dark friends have reasons for what they do," and we just found out a big secret about Leandrin, and something that she, seems at least to feel very strongly about. So there are levers and there's leverage that the shadow uses on its operatives.
So then Nynaeve is in her room having an emotional. You see this huge mark on her face. Clearly, Leandrin hit very hard. And she's actually crying for something else that we'll discuss in the future. But Leandrin is at the door and looks not regretful so much as like, the timing is terrible. I'm not apologizing for what I did, but she's like, if I could take back what is happening, I would, but I already set the wheels in motion. And she's getting tested for accepted, which is, again, it's the second level of training. You start as a novice, you become an accepted, and then an Aes Sedai. And we learn a little bit about the accepted test, where they are going to be facing their fears.
Yes.
This really like neat ceremony with Leanne, who is, talking with Leandrin about, approaching these fears and seeing what's going to happen. And the gate opens and there's these 3 epic stone arches. And that's the end of the Nynaeve section for this episode.
Yeah.
Which is
lots going on there.
Yeah.
But Leandrin isn't only tending to Nynaeve. She has another person to tend to. She takes her a little detour and visits her private prison, it looks like, where Matt is. Gives him some sweet cakes, and this is right after she swiped the poison. So, we're... Matt even asks, is this poisoned? And she says, hey, if I wanted to kill you, I could do it all sorts of ways. But it's just a reminder that she swiped that vial.
Yep.
So apparently, or as per Leandrin, Matt is being held to just observe, to be under observation after he was separated from that evil Shadar Logoth dagger. Now, we already know that Leandrin can lie from last episode, or we think she can lie. So, not sure how much we're trusting that reason.
Well,
although
clearly,
Maureen did send her.
Yeah, but Matt doesn't trust her.
Yes.
Obviously. Matt doesn't really trust anybody.
And I loved his nonverbal acting when Leandrin leaves, and he's kind of gesturing as she slides the door, locks it, steps away, and then he gets to work. He's prying loose a brick.
The physicality of Donalfin is so great.
He was great, yeah.
His nonverbal acting is just beautiful. You see the cheekiness in
Yes.
Matt, even when he's, being emotional, when he's being sad, like when he sticks his finger in the sweet cake and licks it and is just watching Leandrin like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
And then once she leaves, he takes a great big bite out of it before he gets to work. So, he is Matt. He is Matt. I am sold on this casting change. So
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so good. And then later on, Matt finally succeeds and he pushes the stone out only to see that he's found another cell. And then we get a little head pop up and it's Min.
That was so surprising. That was not the person I expected to be in there.
I know. I loved it too. And especially that Min calls Matt Possum. So you're the possum that's been scratching up my wall. What did you do to the blonde to get you in here? So she knows that Leandrin, like these are Leandrin's cells. And he goes, nothing. And she's like, is that a sex thing?
yeah, that was great.
That was so
Not her
good.
type.
No, I think she prefers her men dead.
Yeah.
So funny. This pairing, we know it was going to happen because of the posters that had the two of them together,
right.
Which was great. But I love their interaction and their personalities together. So good. So good.
It is a lot of fun. And, she even goes ahead and reveals that she has these visions of the pattern, visions of the future. What she doesn't do is say what she sees around Matt.
Because Matt doesn't want to know.
He doesn't want to know.
He was hoping for something more interesting.
That was a great line.
It was so good. So sassy.
Yep.
And Matt doesn't want to know the shit that's headed his way.
And then we should say what Min sees is Matt with the dagger. I believe we can tell that it's the Shadow Logoth dagger. And he is actually killing Rand. He's knifing Rand. So
I think we learned in season 1 that knifing doesn't necessarily mean dead.
Yeah.
we do learn that. And, that kind of turns over my entire understanding of the universe, but that's okay.
That's okay.
In real-time world, knifing does not equal dead.
Knives are really just play weapons there.
Right.
So,
even with Lan in last episode, when he got stabbed like 18 times by the Fade. Like, nope, we're still fine.
The Aes Sedai are here and they can help. But that whole bit happened because they finally got the hole big enough for Min to slip in and bring a jug of wine.
Have a drink,
so, Matt was so excited. I'm really loving his little hand acting, how he's playing with the sleeves of his shirt. And just kind of like, it's such a subtle character like development, and it's just beautifully done. But when Min heads back over, Matt asks, will you come visit again? And I love this line before she sees the pattern glimmer. Min says, I'll check my social calendar, Possum, but I think it's pretty open. And I'm just like, I want to call people Possum all the time now.
Good. Now, Maureen, you didn't trust Leandrin. You feel like Leandrin's got all sorts of deceits within deceits going on. When you saw this first, did you trust Min?
When I saw it first, yes, I think I did.
Okay.
But since we've talked about episode 1 and you spotted Min in the background, well, why would she go from spying on Aes Sedai for somebody to all of a sudden she's in a cell?
Yeah, seems pretty.
In Leandrin's cells. Apparently, this
Leandrin's
is something that Leandrin keeps.
And she just happens to have wine and happens to
it's
be
pretty,
interested and mad, and it's
shifty.
orchestrated. Like, this is my conspiracy theory.
Yeah. deep conspiracy theory.
Oh yeah. It's all Leandrin. She's the mastermind.
That lady is busy. She's got a lot
busy.
going on.
Oh my goodness. So busy all over the place. Well,
She's
and
got
then
her son, she's got her protege, and she's got her prisoner, and she's got her spy.
We know she runs out and talks to people, or attacks all of the channelers too from the first episode of the first season. She leaves the tower, but she may not be leaving the tower anytime soon. Recently, because of she's got her protege here, so she's probably not going to go on any hunts for channeling men. Speaking of proteges, another visitor from the Two Rivers. We haven't talked about Egwene yet, who's still doing slave labor. Like a good novice.
Starting to resent it. Everyone asks about, where's your friend Nynaeve? And,
never about her. And it just gets deeper because Egwene has a new neighbor.
Elaine Trakand
comes in like a hurricane.
With an army of maids setting up her room.
And shades of red.
Red everywhere because, of course, the Lion Throne of Andor. Andor is red.
I was thinking more Red Aja, but I guess.
I think that might be going a little bit too deep. Of course, Elaine, everything's going to be red because it's the frickin' throne. Like, that is the color.
She is the heir to the throne.
She's the White Lily.
Yeah, she's the...
Right?
Because that's the daughter heir, but the red is the color of the throne. Is the...
Okay.
Like, the flags for Andor are the rampant white lion on red.
And a red,
Yeah.
Okay, and the red and the white. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yes. Especially all the maids are in red. All of the maids are in red, and and they have the lion on their cloak, on their I don't know, their shirts. Yeah. Long, I don't know.
Tabard, is that the word you wanted? I don't even know if that's the right word.
I don't even know. We're gonna say that it is, and then somebody can tell us that it's wrong.
All right. So what I loved about Elaine was she captured what I knew about that character so well. Just absolutely arrogant is the wrong word. Just so elevated and
positive
haughty
of herself,
but also charming.
Yes.
She has a charm. She has sort of this way of winning you over, but she's also every bit the aristocrat.
Yeah, and it's definitely seen when she goes to Egwene's room and it's like, oh, you just moved in too.
You just got here too, yeah.
I wish they'd cleaned the place.
Yeah, you really think that mine was full of rubbish too? And Egwene is just staring at her, and Elaine notices. And instead of like playing it off of like, I'm a haughty, whatever, she apologizes and like is embarrassed and tries to bring that connection back, and it's like, oh, she recognizes the stitching on the blanket on the bed. It's Western Andor. It's Two Rivers, and like,
you're my subject.
Yeah, and you can see Egwene is just like,
I'm not putting on airs. It's just true.
You're right. And Elaine didn't know if she would be staying with the regular novices. The whole daughter heir thing.
Yeah.
Don't you know who I am? But obviously, Egwene doesn't know because the Two Rivers doesn't really serve a queen.
Hasn't seen a tax collector in decades.
Yeah.
That's a book reference. Sorry.
It's all right. You're forgiven. But Elaine then comes and says, some of the greatest pairings in the history of the world were formed in the novices that were housed in adjacent rooms. And
Foreshadowing? Yes.
yes,
Yep,
they're going to be
definitely.
friends.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. They're buddies.
They're buds. They're buds. An interesting thing that also showed Elaine's kind of integrity too is that Shiriam comes in, the mistress of novices, and says, "Who allowed these maids into the tower? That's not allowed. Tell me the name of the woman who did it." And she says, "Well, I am not going to give you that name. I'll accept the punishment. It was someone who did it as a favor to my mother." And so, Shuriam says, "Okay, then you'll be punished. Visit my study every morning for the next however many months." And she says, "Yeah, before
Great.
or after breakfast." So,
Yeah, that was great. But also, before that even happens, Egwene is giving her a tour, and Elaine calls Aes Sedai by name, and Egwene's like, "You didn't actually need this, did you?" And Elaine is like, "Yeah, I know. I've been here, 6 summers as a girl, but I didn't want to give up the chance to get to know you better."
which is charming. It's absolutely
very
charming.
So charming, so just wonderful, and so trying to be giving and kind. And they're gonna bond a little bit more over some alcohol that Elaine made.
I loved that scene. She brews her own beer. And there she also reveals that she's something of a tinkerer. She makes things. And I was really happy to see that, if that is a bit of foreshadowing, which we can discuss later.
Yeah. But also, it makes sense because she doesn't have friends and isn't allowed to have fun. So she has to find something to keep herself busy. And asks, kind of, wants to learn more about Egwene and about Nynaeve because that was mentioned. And, of course, Elaine knows about who Nynaeve is, and Egwene is so frustrated with that because this is her best friend. They came here together and I'm following the rules, and supposedly she came here for me, but she's never there when she needs her. She's off sparring with warders or becoming the Merlin's bloody protege. And
Elaine just says, "Dear, jealousy is not a good look on you." It's so insulting, and it's so true.
Right? Well, and Egwene pushes back, "I'm not jealous," but Elaine's like, "I'm daughter heir to the most powerful nation on earth. I know what jealousy looks like." She's got her ownership, she's been owned. She knows the truth. And the sad part is that Nynaeve heard that conversation on why,
just the first part,
about why Egwene is frustrated and angry. And that is why Nynaeve is crying in her room when Leandrin comes to take her to the accepted test.
And this is a problem because the warders were warning her, find your reason for being here. And Nynaeve has just been disabused of what she thought her reason for being here was, which was taking care or looking after Egwene. So now
it's bringing Egwene more strife, if anything. And it's also nice that Egwene gets told this jealousy and stop it, because I think once she hears that out loud, she's going to realize, okay, maybe it is. I shouldn't be acting this way, and she'll come around.
Yeah.
That Elaine should be Grey, Aja. She'd make a good Grey.
Yeah, she would. I agree with that. But one other thing, when Elaine mentions powerful duos that were formed in the novices' adjacent rooms, she mentions Cadsuane. And I didn't catch the second name. Did anybody get that?
I didn't either. No,
I didn't either.
Okay.
I tried listening to it 3 times, and I could not figure out who it was. So hopefully,
we'll have to wait till the subtitles.
Yes, that's the really sad thing about the screeners, is that we don't have subtitles as an option, which is frustrating for these very specific moments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I want to know.
Yeah, who is with Cadsuane.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm never sure in a show, in an adaptation, whether they are laying foundations for something or if it's just an Easter egg. But either way, it was nice to hear Cadsuane mentioned.
Yes.
Yes, and we'll talk about that in the books, I'm
Yeah.
sure. One other little bit of threads of conversation happen in the tower,
Yes.
and that's with Sheriam is gonna talk to Alana. She shows up in Alana's room in these, like, don't get me wrong, the threesome in the bed was hot, but the way Alana moves, so she hands Sheriam a glass and then kind of like slinks back onto the chair to sit and holds out her hand as she gets a glass of
She is
whatever
so damn
wine.
hot.
Yeah, so hot.
Yeah.
And
Incredibly.
and Alana's asking, like, where's Sheriam's water? And
Yeah.
she's like, some things are just meant for Aes Sedai. But clearly that is not the way Alana runs her warders, because they are part of the conversation. They
No move to
have-
dismiss them. No move to do. Well, they're in Alana's quarters. Her rules.
Yeah.
Right? Her rules, absolutely. But also, clearly, she knows what the warders know what's going on because they have opinions. They, along with Alana, think that Nynaeve is not ready for accepted. And Sheriam's like, the pattern is giving us weapons to fight against him. The last battle is near, sister. Or, sorry, that was Alana was saying that. And Sheriam is like, well, in the hall, you speak as one, not three. Because
Which Leandrin has control of her cabal. That's,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the three is implying that the two warders and Alana would be three votes, but obviously only Aes Sedai can vote in the hall. But then they see...
Well, I was also, just real quick, I was also taking it to mean the three sitters
Yeah.
count as
of
one.
the red...
So even if...
Yeah, they vote as one.
So I think there might be a double meaning there because, the three greens would only have one voice.
Yeah.
Or for the three greens in the hall, it's more of Alana is the only one of the other two that think that
That's possible.
Nynaeve should not raise to accepted. So if they're thinking that because the last battle is near, the two of them are like, oh, well, we need her to be accepted.
Weapons.
Yeah. And Alana is might be the only one that's actually working closely with Nynaeve to know how not ready she is.
Yes.
It's interesting too how much Sheriam, who is a blue Aja person, is basically using the same talking points that Leandrin used in the previous episode. That wouldn't you rather have this weapon on our side? So Nynaeve being groomed as a weapon is something that both Sheriam and Leandrin are interested in, as opposed to developing her as, a student, a proper Aes Sedai.
Yeah, trying to get the strength regardless of what power she has. Which might be why Alana is not invited to the accepted test. And it's just Sheriam and Leanne and Leandrin.
Right.
As hanging out in the basement. But that's the White Tower.
Well, we also learned that Alana and her warders are going to leave the White Tower soon.
Yes.
They've got their bags packed.
Yes, and Sheriam sees those bags packed and is like, if you intend to be here to speak at all. And the boys ask if Alana still wants to leave, and Alana says yes, because Maureen, she needs us.
Yep.
And shall we talk about why she needs Alana? Because let's head back over to Maureen and Lan's story time.
Yeah, and they are still at odds.
Yes.
Is this another instance where the Postal Service delivers a letter letting Alana know Moraine needs her?
Yeah.
There is a very good postal service in Randland. And,
We also, to be fair, we don't know how long time is, but yeah.
my
Somehow,
headcanon is they teleport. They teleport letters all over the place. It's the one thing they've recovered from the Age of Legends.
right, is teleportation of letters, or email or fax. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
We see them with phones.
Yeah. Well, we meet back with Lan and Maureen, and they're both clearly still in pain, recovering from healing because their wounds were so bad. And they're asked if they need more healing, and nope, they're fine. Maureen's like, okay, I gotta go. We gotta go. And Varen asks why, like, where are they going? To the White Tower? And Maureen's like, I'm exiled. And Varen's like, I know.
That was a really interesting exchange that raised so many questions when I first saw it.
Yeah.
There are oaths that are binding, and later Viren does says there are loopholes to oaths.
Yes.
But Viren seems to know a lot. Well, I guess Maureen's exile would be common
in
tower knowledge.
All of the that's in the massive.
Yeah.
That's in all of the blogs. All of the blogs are talking
That's
about
right.
Maureen's exile.
They get the newsletter. They've read
Yep.
the blogs.
Tower gossip.
You're right.
Yeah, yeah. Especially
but-
as a Brown, like she's gonna know.
She's online
information.
all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Viren is thinking that they'll go to the tower, and Moraine later confirms that to Lan. He says, "Yeah, we're going to the tower," and it's not quite a lie, but
I mean, it's not a lie. Yeah.
No.
And Maureen is being even more of an ass to Lan, and it's just like,
Yeah.
have Tomas like saddle my horse because you know I don't trust
want
you.
it to slip. Yeah.
Yeah. Just so pushing so hard, pushing him away. It's so, and Lan just does not understand, and it's so hard for him to see it. And we flash forward, they've made it to the tower, and they can see, they've made it to Tarvalon, and they can see the tower. And they weren't going to leave their estate until their history of the world was written. But you can't write the history when it's currently being wrote. So
Absolutely.
they're like, let's get into it. We don't, let's be a part of the history instead of just writing about it, which I freaking love. I love that.
Well, and then as a private aside, as they're looking on Tarvalon, Viren comes up to Moraine and basically reveals that, I know all about the dragon that you brought. Well, something that was interesting is she automatically guesses it's one of the boys. And not the two girls. So I wonder if that was like lifted dialogue that they didn't massage, or if Viren has deduced that, well, both the girls are in the tower already. So maybe
that's
something
probably else. What it is, because of course she gets the newsletter, which of course publishes all new members.
That's right.
So they know who.
She's
who
checked out their bios.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But it's a really tense conversation, and Maureen is almost drawing a dagger, and Viren says, "Okay, that's far enough. I needed to see how far you would go to protect the dragon, because our sisters, they want to clip his wings. They are afraid of another breaking of the world, but Viren implies that she knows that the dragon has to basically be free, or at least not under constraints of the tower that fears him. So, and then Moraine says, I need to know whether I can trust you or not. Viren says, you're going to have to trust me. You have no choice.
Yep.
Which is, awesome. I love Viren in this. She is already this spooky force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
I love how much, like, Maureen didn't even blink. It was just like, look, I'm gonna kill you if I need to get you to be quiet, because this is not. Yeah.
Yeah, and Viren didn't blink either.
Yeah, that's
Viren
true. Yeah.
knew what was going on, knew that she was coming, and says, "Okay, you can stop. I got you now."
Yeah. Yeah.
Something, another few things that Viren said that were really interesting, because I thought I didn't know how much would happen, but she mentioned that there are lots of resources with prophecies in the White Tower, things about Toman Head, which, we can
Battles in the sky.
Battles in the sky,
Yes.
and branded hands
Yes.
wielding a sword of fire. So, yeah, that's stuff that's going to happen still, which is cool.
Yes, I love that. Again, we'll of course talk about that a little more.
We'll talk about that a little more. Should we then go to the fact that the Postal Service works for Lan as well?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And he's gotten a letter. He's emotional about the letter. We know who sends letters like that. And he hides it from Maureen, which is really interesting.
Wait, you think that's that letter? Okay, well, first,
I think Nynaeve gave him that.
I think you're wrong, but first,
Really?
there's we have the story around the fire where they're all relaxing. They're hanging out. You hear the story about how Tomas and Varen met.
Yeah.
And they're asking how Lan and Maureen met. And you find out that Maureen was following Lan. And he was doing a meditation. Maureen tried to get the sword, and he throws her in a pond. And I love that he's like, that Varen is like, any old water can, or was it Adelace? I think Adelace actually said, any old warder can protect you from a Trolloc, but the right one can protect you from yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved that. That was so sweet. But then we see Lan finds a note. I think so. He's at Maureen's horse. He's fixing her saddle. I think that it's the poem. I think it's the
prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy.
I see. Yeah, they did look similar. I thought this was Nynaeve who sent Lan a note as well, and it showed kind of his split loyalties, which we can talk about in the book thing. But I could see how you could think that, but no. But yeah, if he's seen the poem, then that's a clue as to what Maureen has planned too.
Yes.
Yes.
And she says, "My loyalty is to Rand, the Dragon Reborn," and he's out there. He's not dead. That's a revelation to Lan. He didn't know that Rand said, "Hey, tell everybody I'm dead," and then he wandered off.
And
he's like, you didn't tell me the truth or something. The way he phrases it, and she's like, "Oh, I just didn't tell you the whole truth again because she can't lie about it."
Yep.
But she omitted certain things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she says that you failed me. Without Varen and Adelace, I would be dead.
Yeah.
And then Alana shows up, and she will take your bond by force if she has to.
Yeah.
Basically, Maureen is done with Lan. Like, we were never equals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She just
and that's just highlights
him out of it.
Right. And we saw previously in the tower, Alana has her warders in there with an important meeting.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, she considers them very close to equals. Mm-hmm. And then hearing Maureen say this, it's like, holy shit, that's really, really different way to treat your warders.
Yeah.
We know Maureen can't lie because she's sworn the three oaths. And so she says, we were never equals. And she says it with so much ferocity. But I'm thinking that she's never considered herself equal to Lan. I bet you she came into this with, like, it's going to sound silly, but like more of a humble relationship between them. You know, she trusts him so much and she relies on him so much. And so I'm pretty sure for her to keep that, the truth of this is that she considers Lan higher than her. And I hope that that's going to be a revelation a little bit later. Like, we were never equals, Lan, because you were always the better of the two of us.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll be what
has a lot
happens.
of faith in him. She knows that he's a noble, strong man. And so, she's twisting the truth because she wants to drive him away.
Correct.
So yeah, I totally love that that interpretation, and you know, she knows that he is such a man of honor that it would be impossible for him to forsake his duties to her,
right?
Unless
so she's
she
got to
is
force him
rock solid in totally denying him.
Yes.
There's absolutely no reason that I want you with me, so go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I wonder how much of it too is to have, because she knows that Nynaeve
yes, exactly.
Such that part, and that Nynaeve will need someone strong to be with her,
right?
And that
well, she's very explicit in getting him back to the tower, and that's why I thought the note was from Nynaeve, and Moiraine knows about it, because that's what she really wants is what's best for Lan and what's best for Nynaeve.
Right.
And what's best for herself, too, because she doesn't want to get Lan killed in whatever absolute bananas trip she's going to be on. Because who knows where she's going? We don't.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Not yet.
Well, she has said explicitly, "I serve Rand, and I need to go to Rand." So we're assuming she knows where he is somehow, or can find out.
Or we'll find out.
Yeah. Which is weird. It's like I'm wondering almost if she could channel. One would think that, I can't have a warder now because I need to stick to Rand like glue. Maybe I should bond him.
Oh, maybe.
That would be crazy. But she can't channel.
That would be really crazy.
Yeah. Now, before we also find Rand, let's stop by Perrin. The hunt for the horn.
The great hunt for the horn.
Continuing. Uno's giving Elias shit, Elias, because he is refusing to be on a horse, and they're going so slow. But don't worry, they're still on his trail, so like, it's fine. And deal with it. And Uno's just pouting, which I love.
You get the sense that these guys are traveling miles and miles and miles doing nothing but razzing each other.
Oh, absolutely. They got to entertain each other somehow. And they find a river, and they find a town hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's a place that Ingtar thinks doesn't feel right. So let's go check it out.
Let's go check it out.
Go hang out in the town. Loyal stays with horses and did a very great "As You Wish." I want a ringtone with that, or at least I would. If my phone ever made noise, that's a ringtone that I would have it be. But it's
better than Wesley in The Princess Bride. He's got a deeper "As You Wish." So,
yes,
absolutely.
that nice rumbling noise. And they're gonna check out. I love how they moved in this town area. Like, each of the warriors clearly have a different weapon. Yep. They're each holding it differently, but they're all moving with such like strength and power, and it makes me wonder if the rest of the like team, I guess, I don't know what to call the group other than the main actors, if they are actually cast as, like, if they are stunt fighters,
maybe
as these people instead of actors with stunt training. Like if they just because of how they move, this is like they moved like trained fighters. And it was really impressive. If you know what you're looking for, seeing them move was just like incredible. And watching them, you know, they're spreading out, they're paying attention. Everyone knows kind of what's going on and what's happening. And we see Perrin sees something. And so they better
even
go
though the
check
door is
out.
closed, and even though there's no window, he says there's a woman in there.
Well,
there
he sees
was a
the door
window.
close, and there was,
But it was closed.
And there was like a little face that you could see. I had to watch it in slow.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay, I
yeah,
didn't see that.
He sees something, but there is kind of this question, and Elias addresses it. You know, you gotta be able to distinguish. It's good to distinguish between visions and reality. So we're not sure whether Perrin saw what he saw, or it's a vision of the past, because what Perrin appears to be able to do, and this is an interesting spin on the visions, is that like Min sees the future, he seems to see the past. He sees what has happened in this area, in this room that he goes into, and there's a fade in there, and it's attacking and killing.
Too.
And dark friends. And they're attacking and killing all of these villagers. And, you know, at first he thinks, oh, here's some villagers. Let me say hi to them. Sorry for interrupting you. And then he sees that, oh, no, this is a vision. They're all dead now, and there are flies everywhere.
Yeah. That like the fact that the flies weren't there and then they was really like creepy.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
extra creepy. And Elias is hanging out at the door and is like, it's useful to know the difference between vision and reality. You don't get lost so easily. And I was just like, oh my goodness. Like Elias knows what's going on.
Yeah. And Perrin thinks Elias is doing it to him.
Yes.
Doesn't work that way. Doesn't
Nope,
work that way.
sorry, that's not how it goes. But you know, you keep believing that. And then they find, you know, the cook fire pit with food that's uncooked, like it's not eaten, it's still there. They're like, clearly they left quickly, and Uno, of course, is like, haha, they knew we were gaining on them.
They're afraid of us.
Elias is like, no, here's what's up. And we find a fade hanging out on the door. Literally hanging out.
Yeah.
A like dead Fade who was not dead when they put them against the wall. Like that, because you see
there are
the
spikes
spurs
through where its eyes would be, and it's nailed to a door.
Yeah.
And the
Gross.
question on everybody's mind is, who could do this to a Fade? What could do this to a Fade?
Right. Like,
And-
so, yeah, everyone's a little bit scared.
Yeah. And they even think it might be Fane. Like Perrin asked, do you think this was Fane? Which raises the question of what the hell is Fane? If you can do that.
Yeah.
So scary, good stuff.
So scary and so great. But they're traveling on. They're going to keep going. And they find this cute little town. We've got a lionfish that apparently stinks really bad, but Loyal says there is a certain depth of flavor that comes from the fermentation. And I'm just like, with that description, I can just smell it, and it's so gross. So disgusting. No, thank you.
I loved that they showed a lionfish, though, and when we get to the book section, I have a little story about that.
Oh,
but
exciting.
Little details here that they're bringing into the show that I love.
Excellent. Yeah, it's so great. And they fall asleep. They're going to hang out and spend the night there. Well, they're going to spend the night, but it's not a very peaceful sleep because here come these bad guys with really scary looking helmets. the Shanshan come and are taking over the town with this massive fight. Clearly, they were not expecting an entire like troop of Shinarians to also be there, because
And they do pretty well, until
Yeah.
until the Soldam show up with the Domani, and basically they're just like, meh, we're gonna, bring a windstorm and take care of you. So scary. Once again, like the Soldam and Domani, like their connection is creepy.
So creepy.
Their makeup and their costumes are fantastic in the scariest way.
Yeah.
And their movements and how, like, the Soldam are basically giving directions to the Domani, and then the Domani are the ones, doing the power, and they just have a single word and it tells them what to do, and it's so impressive.
Yeah. In season 1, we saw Aes Sedai fight. Use the one power to defend themselves in combat against Logain's forces, and then against Trollocs, we saw that. But this is the first time we're seeing a channeling military unit, and it's terrifying.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Just the precision with which they work, and the scary, crazy foreign music that is playing as they show up. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, because when we did see the Aes Sedai battling Logain's men, they're each attacking with their warders or by themselves, and they're all using different kinds of weaves depending on what they know. But this is, like, it's uniform, and it's in sync, and it's powerful, and it's so much scarier.
Yeah. This is military. This is a military.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one power, which is conceptually
it's going to put the Grey Naja
crazy.
to shame, I think, once they meet up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and, like, seeing this type of battle versus the one that just went previously with like by hand to hand, the swords, versus we're just gonna wipe everything out.
Yep.
And when they're pushed away, time passes and morning comes, and they're pulling everybody into town as they're waking up, and they're telling them, stay put. And then you hear like the marching of it. And this, I guess, a throne. It's like a pyramid with the throne on top. I don't know how to describe it, but it's gigantic.
For folks who've seen the movie The 300, it's how Xerxes was brought in on this platform borne by slaves, this huge step pyramid with a throne on it, just over the top ornate, over the top, loftiness, and there are 3 people on top of that, and the central one is who we saw in the previews with the long fingernails and the mask. Actually, we did see her.
In the previews, yeah. No, I thought you were talking about in the around the table
in the Dark Friend social.
Yeah.
We saw someone with nails like
someone with nails like that, with the same color but different clothing.
And I don't think we need to be too coy about this, because right next to her is Ishamael himself.
Yeah.
So,
so they're probably connected somehow.
So they're probably in cahoots.
And speaking of like spooky like noises, the swish of the nails that made them stop that was so intimidating. Like, you don't have to say anything, just move your nails and they whoosh, because they're so long that they like float in the wind, and it was just like scary. And the person in the middle says, "Are they ready?" And Ishamael says, "They'll have to be, won't they?" Ready for what? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see in
Find
the
out
future.
next episode.
Yes, hopefully. I mean, we will. Spoilers. I don't have to be coy.
I was gonna say you've already announced that we've seen the first 3 episodes.
We've already seen. We know what happens next, but we're not telling you yet. Instead, let's check out our favorite shaved redhead.
Yeah. So he's having nightmares,
which is the cold open. I find it really interesting that this is the cold open for this episode. It's not an out of time type story.
Right,
it's
right.
Part of the story. And you see, like, Rand has this dream of blood and fire and a heron-marked sword.
And all of his friends
dead.
At his hand, presumably.
Blood everywhere, all over him. It's clearly scary.
Yeah. And this is a reminder of the stakes, right? We know that Rand knows that as a channeler, he's going to kill everybody he loves and cause all sorts of havoc. So he's having nightmares about this. He knows what's at stake, and this is why he has separated himself from everybody he knows. Yep. But he's made a new friend. It's kind of nice. Pretty lady.
Pretty lady who apparently he owes room and board for the month. And don't be late. I might charge you interest. And he's like, don't worry, I won't. Your rates are too much for me.
So he's shacked up with the sexy innkeeper. And, all seems good. He has a new job, too, that he has to leave for early in the morning.
And he's clearly been there long enough to know which kid to give a few coins to. He gets thrown a piece of bread in the morning, and we know that he's in the foregate at Carian, and he's got a special pass to come into the main city and change his coats. And we learn that he works in a sanitarium, basically. All of these poor people, like, some of them are tied in chairs so they don't hurt themselves. And some are just, like, curled up in the corner. And it fades into the opening little credit thing by saying, he's hearing voices that says, "You are mine, Rand al'Thor."
Yeah. So he's hearing the Dark One or Ishamael or someone kind of whispering in his ear. He knows he might be going mad, and he's working with madmen, which I thought was really interesting choice. And it kind of raises my hackles wondering, okay, how did he find these opportunities, and what led him here into this sort of thematically perfect scenario? But
I think we'll find out.
So we see one of his patients, which is a man named Errol, who fought in the Aiel War and thinks Rand is an Aiel. Even though he's shaved his red hair, it still kind of shows through. And Errol is also a blade master, and Rand is gentle with him and kind of says, every day is a new day. We're going to we're going to start this routine we have. We're going to go for a walk. You're going to trust me again. And Rand even says, maybe you could. I'll bring my sword again, and you can teach me some of the sword forms. And that gets Errol's attention, and he starts talking through that until the mean orderly named Yan does mean things and scares poor Errol.
Yeah. Can we talk about real quick how absolutely sweet and kind Rand is with
He's
Errol?
Wonderful.
Like, which we also didn't mention, Errol is probably named after Errol Flynn.
Swashbuckling swordsman.
Like swordsman in the golden age of movies. Just fantastic, and it makes sense. And I love, he comes into the room and Errol is like freaking out because it's an Aiel, and Aiel is here. He's gonna come, and Rand is
flooding
just like,
over the dragon wall.
Yeah, Rand is like, clearly heard this every day.
Yep.
He's cleaning up the room. He's like, dude, this is fine. It's fine. Let me put on your shoes. Let's go for a walk. And he says, we get to start fresh every day, but we always manage. And I love that. It's so sweet.
It's also such a callback to the theme from last season, from the first season, where they talked about the cosmology of the Wheel of Time and how we're reincarnated and we get a chance to start again every time and do better.
Yeah.
So I liked that little subtle callback to his conversation with his father, Tam.
Yes. And once a Blade Master, always a Blade Master. After this, you can tell the animosity between Jan and Rand clearly, and Rand is just over it.
Jan's a complete asshole.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But don't worry, he'll get his
He's gonna get
comeuppance.
what's coming to him. Yeah.
There is a party in the foregate. You've got a big dancing troll hanging out like a puppet. Rand is watching Jan with his friends, and he flirts with a tavern maid and then wanders off drunkenly, and Rand follows and proceeds to kick his ass.
And then some.
And then some.
Does he kill him? It looked like he killed him.
I don't think
No.
so. He was flinching.
Okay.
And we hear later on that he's out of. What does the lady say? She says
He suffered an accident. He'll be out of work or something.
Yeah, out of work for a couple months. So
so maybe
he'll recover, but he's clearly flinching.
Yeah, he's fine.
But Rand beat the hell out of him, and not only did he beat the hell out of him, he channeled at him.
Yes.
So he used the power in anger.
And he's starting to lose control. Like he went further than he meant to, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can see that with how scared he is. And he gets back to the inn, and Celine's waiting for him, of course. And he's just like, I don't think tonight I have to be alone. And she comes over and is just like, that's the funny thing about people. When things get bad, we want to be alone. The truth is, it's when we need each other the most. We can be alone together.
Yeah, which is sweet.
She's such a good girlfriend.
Right? And then he
such a sweetheart.
grabs her by the throat and holds it against the wall, and then they start making out.
And she's into it. They like it rough.
Yeah,
This is
she
their
likes
thing.
it rough. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely likes it rough. And they wake up, or they don't wake up. They're in bed hanging out together, and Rand is just like, I don't want to hurt you. And Celine's like, you can't.
You can't.
And she talks about, the lover that she lost, and when she's with Rand, she can pretend that he's him, and I can pretend I'm whole again. And Rand uses Celine to help him forget someone that she misses.
It's a weird, dysfunctional relationship, but that's what Celine says. Maybe this is what we can do for each other.
Yeah. You'll help me remember, and I'll help you forget.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, actually.
Yeah. So,
on the surface.
Yeah. It's emotional. We'll just say that. There's emotions involved. Next morning, though, Rand does his morning routine. He's snacking on the bread. He gets upgraded to a new job, gets to hang out in the garden. And who's in the garden but Logang?
Oh my God, yes.
Who looks terrible, absolutely awful. And Rand has a little smile on his face as he says, your usual orderly had a terrible accident last night, so I'll be taking care of you for a few months. I have a feeling you and I have a lot more in common.
Yeah. And
this was the best.
That comment and that smile made me wonder just how much Rand had planned.
Oh, you know You know that talk about a mastermind. Rand came here on purpose. He knew
Oh, yeah.
where Logain was being
Yeah.
held, and because this is the only male channeler that he knows of and knows that he can figure out where he is.
And that's really playing the long game.
Yeah, and that he needs to know what the heck is going on. He needs to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, and he
and how to
assaulted Jan in order to get close to what he needed.
Clearly, he's going to do whatever he needs to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end this episode because because now we don't know just how ruthless Rand is. We've seen him act in violence. We've seen him plan. We know that there are dark voices whispering in his ear. Rand is not in a good place. He's in a place of power, but not in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but seeing Logain again was just the best thing of this episode for me. I just adore Logain as a character.
Definitely.
And then the actor Alvaro Morte just does a fantastic job of capturing Logain first in season 1, just being that power-filled, shining radiance, but then now seeing him lowly and gentled, is the word, and in a sanatorium with lots of other people who are not well, and he just captures that so good with that personality, that smile, that way he walks, the way he's kind of disheveled in his really fine clothes.
Yeah.
It's just perfectly captured the exhaustion almost.
There are dark circles under his eyes. His hair is bedraggled. It's we've seen how he's fallen in a way that he didn't even look when he was in a cage.
Yes.
But that's what gentling does to a man.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. So, shall we get into book spoilers?
Books.
Yes, please.
All right. So, first off, let's talk about the Forsaken in the room, shall we? There's that added layer of I'm going to pretend that you're my lost love that Celine's doing with Rand, because we know that Lanfear is obsessed with the dragon and absolutely obsessed with the whole situation. And she's playing the long game too. And it makes me wonder, like, we're guessing that Ishmael released her.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's even this comment in the show, right, that says Ishmael might have been going off awakening the other Forsaken.
Yes.
Yeah. And so she's here and she's just hanging out, making out and loving on Rand to know where he is, to kind of manipulate him as need be, but more importantly, I'm guessing to be able to send, faxes to Ishi and let him know what's up with the dragon report.
Right.
Yeah, but the funny thing is she's actually honest about it. Like, she's not Miss Perfect. She's not everything Rand wants. Yeah. She's, not too good to be true, but only just a little bit, so he doesn't raise suspicion. Like, I'm here with you because you remind me of a past love. Not like, oh, Rand, you're the best thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm totally in love with you.
Right.
Which is interesting. I mean, it gives, like, she's not lying because she doesn't have to right now.
Yeah.
Like, she can get him with her wiles alone.
In the books, Lanfear was pretty much portrayed as the crazy ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Yeah.
In this portrayal, there is depth and nuance to it. You do get, now it's not a healthy relationship.
No.
But it's one that serves. And
it's more real.
There is an emotional connection there. Yeah, it's real. These are two people who have found something in each other that both need. And she gives him space, but she also sort of doesn't let him wallow off in his brooding that he would do.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta be alone. You don't have to be alone.
Yeah.
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 So I really liked how Celine / Lanfear was cast and how she's playing her. It's really cool.
I
yes.
once again, I just am in love with how delicate each of like all the characters are. They're not just pure evil. They're having this great balance of humanity added to this, these personalities and the realness to it. I mean, even at the Dark Friends social, Ishmael was human and like being kind to this little girl when it would have been so easy to just have him be a complete asshole. But he's not, and it's just amazing.
And I loved the kind of choice in framing this relationship that the show made, because in the books we see Rand meet Celine. And, Rand is supposed to be this honorable guy who will defend a woman in need, and so he does that, and that's what Celine plays on. In here, we don't get the backstory on how they met. We just jump into where, Rand is a guy on his own. She was the innkeeper, and they became lovers. You can fill in the gaps with your own imagination. But that throws us off the scent of whether this is something nefarious, but it also makes it feel really real. Rand is, the title of this episode is Strangers and Friends. Rand came in here as a stranger. He made a new friend, and he's living his life now, and having a lover is part of it.
And show Celine isn't trying to force his hand, whereas Book Celine was like, Rand, wear this fancy coat.
Yeah.
He's like, no, leave me alone. Rand, you need to come do this. No, go away.
Isn't there another way you can defeat all of these Grom at once?
I know, right?
Oh my god!
Don't you want to try something? No, she doesn't do that. At least not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Who knows what'll happen in the future? But I just am so impressed with how human he is. It's great.
Yes.
I also wanted to talk about Errol a little bit because he's not a character from the books. But, one of the things I had worries about is we know at the end of The Great Hunt, Rand fights a Blade Master and he wins, and he does it without channeling. And I was wondering, okay, Lan hasn't been able to train Rand like he was in the book. So is Rand going to learn the sword at all? And there's at least a little thing you could use to fill in your headcanon that Errol was someone who has showed Rand some moves. And, at least Rand is getting a little bit better.
Yeah, so a little bit of information. Yeah, I like it. It's a fun connection between them, and again shows Rand's humanity in it, and that he wants to learn things but also is going to be kind about it.
Well, how good was Logain with a sword? If they're going to be working together, maybe he's going to teach him more than just channeling.
Maybe
that's a possibility. We don't know that. At least I haven't heard that Logain was a blade master.
I don't think he was.
Yeah,
and he was a nobleman. Yeah. So he should have grown up practicing the sword and things.
He probably has a little bit of learning, but I mean, once he found out he could channel, I doubt he continued with the sword because that doesn't quite seem like what Logain would do.
Yeah.
But who knows? Yeah. Speaking of another dragon, Mazrim Taim is mentioned.
Yeah.
In the conversation with the strong channelers.
Yeah.
So Taim is around.
That excited me, and I'm hoping we'll see that in the show. You know, with Cad Swain, I wasn't sure whether, you know, like I said before, this could be just an Easter egg to make the book readers excited, but doesn't actually involve itself. But if Thom is mentioned, I think he's so central to the plot going forward that we're going to see him.
It would not surprise me if this is just, you know, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah, this feels like foreshadowing.
Logain for the good side, and then show Mesrim Taim coming in from the bad side.
Yes.
Current male channelers.
I like that they're building this dichotomy so early, because that was something that I always felt was really weird in the books, is that Logain comes in and then he disappears, and Taim comes in and then he disappears, and so keeping, once again, you know, this is just a great way that the show is such a benefit to book readers, because it's doing the things that if RJ had been able to rewrite the series after from the end of it, what could happen maybe?
It's streamlined. It's streamlined and tighter, which is, you know,
so
all adaptations
can
be a second draft, basically.
And giving it those important details to just 10 central characters, and we still get all the cool things. It's just other people are doing it.
Now, one of the things where I think the book or the show has clarified some things from the books, or at least changed it in a way to make it more comprehensible, is when Perrin entered that room where there were the flies and the people who were getting killed and all of that. You know, I've read that happened with Rand in the books, and I've read that chapter again and again and again, and I'm still not sure I understand what was going on. I think the implication among most of the theorists was that woman who was seen upstairs was Lanfear. She had locked him into a trap that required him to seize the power to break, and it was this but it was a really weird trap. It was like cycling time, so almost like a World of Dreams sort of weird thing. In this, they streamlined it so that it's Perrin's wolf dream, or his visions, the sendings, and it works in a way that's very similar to Min reading the pattern, although he does it backwards, not forwards.
But you can the visual of it is even similar. That kind of golden blurriness,
the aura, And so you know, I think this made coherence out of that very, very strange scene. That was weird because you didn't understand it, and you know, scary because you didn't understand it. But here, at least, there are some reasons behind it, and it's pushing Perrin forward in what he can do.
In that the line of Perrin is the lionfish. Is that part of the story? So tell us your story.
Yes. So before the last book, A Memory of Light, came out, Brandon Sanderson was online, and he was kind of soliciting, what are the things that you've wanted to see that you haven't seen before? And there were so many things that people were sending in. And one of the things that I sent in is, you know, there's the mention of a lionfish, which is a big toothy fish that can chase sharks into the shallows and eat them. And, you know, we didn't know what they were. Were they some kind of a shadow spawn? Were they just a big toothy fish that we don't know about? And I said I wanted to see a lionfish. And I don't know if this was in response to that comment, but in A Memory of Light, when Perrin is fighting Slayer, they pop all over in all these different locations, including right in the middle of the water, and there's a big shadow swimming around, and I thought, okay, that was my little bit of fan service that I got from Brandon.
I love that.
You know, now when I saw this lionfish and heard it named, I said, okay, yes, they are exposing a tiny bit of lore that made absolutely no difference to the story, but it was there for me to see, and I
Yes.
appreciated it.
Oh, that's awesome.
so cute. I love it.
That's so great. So fun. I love it. There's something about being in this community for so long that's really special to see these things. I mean, we have friends of ours that are written into the books. Thom is in the books. We have I mean, my story is amazingly, surprisingly well known, apparently. When Winter's Heart came out, I went to a signing with Robert Jordan, and at the signings, when they're signing the books, you can ask a question, and we were allowed one question. And so I asked a very complex question about gateways and balefire, and if you could balefire yourself through a gateway, because of course that would time travel and bending and stuff. And Robert Jordan looked at me and paused for a moment and then says, young lady, you need to go have an affair with a man, woman, or German Shepherd. Either way, you need to get a life. And I loved that. I love that story so much. And when I was lucky enough to be a storm leader for the Gathering Storm book when it came out, and we had dinner with Brandon Sanderson, and I asked the same question and received the very first RAFO card from Brandon because he had just received them to his hotel in Seattle. And so I still have that card. I carry it with me pretty much everywhere.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when the final when Towers of Midnight came out, and I was at the signing in Oregon, and I stood up and said, hey, you might know me as Dog Girl, but I'm going to ask you again, do we find out, what happens? And he's like, yeah, it's in this book, don't worry. So that's when we kind of learn a little bit about gateways and Bellfire in the final book. So these bits and pieces of our lives are pretty complex. But when you've, and I mean, Dragonmount has been around for 25 years next month, which is a very, very long time.
Yeah, there's a rich history of interaction over this stuff. So
yes,
that's
yes.
great.
It's so fun. Okay, so Elaine, in your notes, Rajiv, what did you write about Elaine in your thought?
Since I've been watching Leandrin in the show now for a season and change, I've always felt that her character was being conflated with Eleda's character.
Yeah.
So if there was going to be a coup, it would be Leandrin on the Amerlin throne. And we've already seen that she's done some things. She's taken on some attributes of Eleda, like being a terrible mentor to novices.
Yes.
But then when we had that scene between Elaine and Sheriam, where Elaine refused to reveal the name of the person who allowed all of the maidservants in, who was doing it on behalf of Elaine's mother, Eleda was Morghase's advisor, the Queen of Andor's advisor. And also has a lot of red accoutrements.
Red.
Yes.
Right. So this just made me wonder, are we going to get Eleda when we eventually see the Lion Throne and Camelin and Andor? Will Eleda be right alongside Morghase?
That's
possible. I was wondering about that.
Because even though Leandrin's taking on some of Eleda's major roles, Leandrin doesn't have the foretelling, and I'm not sure how important having Eleda's foretelling is going to be to this plot in the TV show, but it was pretty central to the plots in the book. So we need somebody that has the foretelling, whether it's a Red Sister or not.
Yeah, I can definitely see Leandrin being this part in this part of the story, and Aleda coming later, and having the whole tower breaking part be for Aleda, not necessarily Leandrin. But I could also see Leandrin becoming that type of person.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, there was something really powerful about having the Amirlan that takes over the tower not being a Black Asha.
Yeah.
There's
Being
something
a useful idiot sort of.
yes.
And
in
Leandrin
control.
could take Alviarin's role. Alviarin was the real.
That's true.
The Black Aja power behind Aleda, with Aleda not having too much of an ego to realize that she was being manipulated. And, Leandrin's a well-established manipulator now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, so Elida will just maybe come in later for that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really think her foretelling, especially when she talks about latching onto Morgaze after the foretelling of the Lion Throne will be the key to victory in Tarmangadan, meaning
Very
Rand
true. Very true.
instead of Elaine. So I think that's kind of important.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's a reason for Aleda to stick like glue to Morgaze too. So that gives a good reason why we haven't seen her.
Yeah, she's not in the tower right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So one thing that was inserted into this episode that was a possible call forward is that Elaine is a tinkerer and a maker. She brews beer, and we also talk about how nobody knows how these Terangriel were made, but they were made to use the one power. Elaine in the books learns how to make Terangriel, which is very cool. And this beer scene to me seems to foreshadow that she's going to be playing that role again.
Yeah, I definitely think it's laying the groundwork for what the future can bring.
I think
Also,
that's
just gives her
exciting.
character more depth.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not just this snooty little daughter heir.
Yes. Yeah, I'm excited to see how much people like Elaine more, because that was always a complaint in the books is blah, 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 Elaine, meh, meh, meh. Just whining about her, but honestly, let's be honest, that's probably just because she's female and misogyny, blah blah blah.
Yes.
But I'm really excited to see what Kira does with this character, but also with the writing and how that develops her again as an important personality and character, not just the queen.
Yeah, the plot device.
Yep.
There is one other little element. I was looking up in the credits, and one of the Shinarans, the really muscled, ripped guy, is Massima. And we know he will be the prophet. And this isn't how I pictured the prophet, but, a really muscly, cool prophet seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
But when you combine that with the foreshadowing that Viren offers about the battle in the sky, I think that really means that we are going to have Massima have a religious experience seeing Rand fight, and the prophet storyline is going to be part of this show. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's a super interesting plot line when you have the fanatic taking the idea of the Dragon Reborn to the extreme.
Yep.
Yes.
It's really interesting how just that concept of religion can corrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so good. What a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, good catch, Rajiv. That was awesome.
Another thing that had me theorizing and racing was when Min had a viewing of Matt killing Rand, or stabbing him at least, with the Shadar Logoth dagger. And the first thing I thought of was of a viewing that, a certain Shan Shan, who may or may not appear in the show, would help Rand to die. And we know at the end that Rand has to die in order to live. One of those paradoxical things. And we also know that at the very end, Ishamael and Rand basically switch bodies.
Yeah.
And that's what gives Rand a second chance at life. And Ishamael ends up dying. I wonder if there's going to be something where Matt has to kill Ishamael and does so with the dagger. So that's the first thing I thought of.
Oh,
so this would be a long sort of all the way to the end.
Super long
sort of
con.
foreshadowing. Yeah.
In the vision, though, Rand had short hair. Do you think he's going to keep it short after he's the dragon?
I think so.
Good question.
I can
You think
see
so?
it.
You think he's going to keep it short?
Yeah, I think just because he's not embracing his Aielness, and it's. I mean, obviously, we've seen because of Errol that like it doesn't matter. You're still going to recognize an Aiel, but I think, yeah, I can see it being him keeping that hair short.
Yeah. Or by the time we get to the finale, we may not even remember. And
Right.
They may digitize it
That's
over.
true. That's true. Very good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens?
And then one other thing we wanted to talk about was Lan not being able to detect the fades. And he thinks it's because Moraine's shielded and the bond has been masked. But I think we can conclude that that was Black Aja warding the fades.
Yep. And when this happened in the books, that was explicitly the conclusion that they reached.
Yeah.
That this is proof that the Black Aja is active because in the book it was a Drakkar, not fades. But that was the Shadow Spawn was warded, and that's why neither warder could detect.
Yeah. It's definitely a possibility. I think. Well, we don't know though if Maureen is fully like severed or just blocked, just shielded with a really intense shield. I don't know, because again, it could be either one. We really could see that Maureen does not ever get her power back, or that she breaks it. Maybe at some point Rand comes back and they meet up again, and he's able to see the shield and releases it.
That's possible.
Or Nynaeve is going to heal.
To heal her.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, so even so, if that's the case, if she's been stilled and it was just because the warder bond was masked, is why Lan's not going insane?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or because she's not dead and he still has that connection with her.
Okay.
So like, because we saw, when your Aes Sedai dies, you have this emotional breakdown and you need to kill yourself too. Yep. But she's still alive. So even though they're not bonded, he still has
You
that
can see
purpose.
her.
And
Yeah.
And
so it's like a psychological thing, not a physical thing.
Right. Which could be why I'm wondering if she is actually fully severed, and this is that connection where instead of the part where she disappears, with Lanfear through the gate, and that's when Lan goes to Alana. Well, not Alana in the books, but Myrell. If Alana's taking that spot, which would make sense.
Yeah.
And this is moving that forward.
Yeah, I think this is probably more confusing to book readers than for people coming in fresh.
Yes.
Because there's all this like, well, is she actually severed, and does does that mean the bond is broken, and all this? So it probably is easier to process when you're coming in fresh from the show.
Yes.
But I think that's why I think the clue where we had a little bit of channeling that looked like it was coming from Maureen during the fight with the Fades makes me think that she's not completely out of the game just yet. But it remains to be seen. I think your theory is equally valid there. We won't know until we see Maureen try to do something in another circumstance.
Yeah.
Or if we catch her in a lie, because now she should be able to lie if she's
right.
still.
Which like could be the lie that she says, on the horse. You failed me.
Yeah.
And
well, technically that was accurate.
It's accurate, but we were never equals. And yes, it could be wordplay if she's believing that Lan was above her. But it could also be a lie.
Right. Yeah.
Especially with Lan saying, I said I cannot lie, so tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So we should talk about why Maureen is pushing Lan away. In the books, she knew she was going to die. She went through I think it was because of the redstone columns, the twisted door frame, and she got her 3 true answers. And
yes.
Yeah, it was that. And that's when she knew that she was going to die, and she wanted to make arrangements to make sure Lan gets to 90.
But then she also went through the Wise One rings in Ruidian.
That's true.
Yeah,
I forgot. She has foreknowledge, is the point.
Yes.
Yes. And Min's viewings, too, to go off of.
Yeah, but because I think, if I remember correctly, she asks the snakes, the way to, get Rand out, how to let the dragon survive or something. Very, very specific wording, of course, because she finds out that she can't bond him, she can't sleep with him, all of
that
these
was the
things.
rings. The rings in Ruidian showed her that.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh, why did I think that? I don't know. Okay. So
because it shows you lots of different possibilities, all your futures.
Gotcha.
And she's the one where she had sex with him was devastating.
Yeah, so she learns about these things. So it's possible that she doesn't necessarily know this, but is pretty sure that she's going to die, and so pushes Lan away.
Her mission seems to be, she knows that Rand is out there, and it has something to do with that poem. That poem was important. And, going back at least through the books, the only thing that has immediate relevance is Lanfear. Talking about Lanfear and how she was Luz Theron's lover, and she's going to be after the Dragon Reborn. So she knows what's basically happening. And I think she is on a collision course with Lanfear because she fears that Rand is in danger of being manipulated and trapped or harmed by the shadow. So she doesn't expect to survive this. Which is kind of the same way in the book.
Yeah, I think again for the rings there were 3 possible outcomes that stood out in her brain. One is Lanfear took Rand and convinced him he loved her, and he came back her devoted lover. And then in one, Maureen didn't die, and it still didn't work out. And then in the third, she took Lanfear through the doorframe.
Yeah.
So I think there was those 3 different things, but the outcome of at that when Lanfear found out about Albienda.
Right.
Yes.
There are 3 different outcomes from that day.
Indeed. And what's fun is the reason I think that maybe Maureen can channel, but her her shield is blocking most of it is that when Maureen comes back from the land of the Eelfin and Aelfin, they've been feeding on her ability to channel, and so what she's left with is the barest trickle of the power. And that's way far in advance of the story, but I think they're doing a lot of streamlining, which is making this making the plot progress quickly. So she's not going to be a force for channeling, but she will be a force.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you don't need the one power to be successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oof.
It's a lot.
Goodness.
I can't wait to go to the next one and then the next one.
I know, right? I'm so excited.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting. All right. You can find links to follow us online in the show notes or on dragonmount.com. On our website, we have so much great content about all parts of the Wheel of Time. Blog posts, chapter and episode summaries, news, as well as links to our YouTube channel and all of the rest of our social media. You will definitely find something to entertain you. Also, make sure to check out our Patreon. Not only do you get to support the community of creators here at Dragonmount, but we have other goodies for you too. We're going to be revamping the entire Patreon over the next year, but right now you can see full interviews I did with some of the cast from season 2, including Donald Finn, where I got to compliment his Matt specifically from this episode. I've been Kathy Campbell.
I'm Rajiv Moté.
And I'm Maureen Carr.
This is not the ending, but it is an ending. Thanks for listening, and we hope you have an absolutely incredible day.